What was it about slipping on those round glasses that made you feel a little bolder, a bit more connected to the spirit of the times? Just think back to the gentle clink of wireframes from the corner drugstore, the feeling of cool metal resting on your nose, and the way a simple accessory could say so much. In the 1960s, round glasses weren't simply a way to see better, they were a badge of belonging in a world that was changing fast. Worn by icons from John Lennon to Janis Joplin, those humble circles of glass and wire signaled everything from protest marches to poetry readings. The world looked different through those lenses, softer around the edges, maybe a little wilder too. For many, the memory of a new pair meant peering into a future filled with possibility, or glancing at your reflection in the shop window and seeing, perhaps for the first time, someone different staring back. Did you ever borrow a pair from a friend just to see how life looked from another angle? As we take a closer look at these signature frames, let's rediscover the stories hiding behind those iconic circles. Were they a fashion statement, a quiet rebellion, or something more? Step back in time to the late 1950s and early 60s, a world humming with anticipation and change, where the simplest accessories sometimes carried the loudest messages. The round glasses that would soon become synonymous with counterculture and intellectual cool didn't originate as an audacious fashion choice. Their story begins years earlier, woven into the fabric of American history. In fact, if you look closely, the roots of these circular spectacles can be traced all the way back to the turn of the century, when round wire-rimmed frames were the standard for both men and women. Back then, practicality reigned. Lenses were small, barely large enough to frame the eye, and the delicate wire arms curled neatly behind the ears, offering clarity above all else. But for a long stretch, the round shape faded quietly as style tastes shifted, first to the more angular brow line and horn-rimmed looks of the 1940s and 50s, which exuded post-war confidence and suburban respectability. So what sparked the swing back to round? Interestingly enough, it wasn't high fashion or movie stars that led the charge. Instead, it was practicality, affordability, and a subtle defiance that ignited the shift. After World War II, surplus stores across America were packed with leftover military eyewear, many with round frames that had been standard issue for decades. Students, artists, and younger folks on a budget snatched them up, drawn by both the low price and the distinctive look. There's a certain charm in remembering a trip to the Army-Navy store, fingers trailing along rows of simple, steel-rimmed glasses, each one a remnant of someone else's story. And so, round glasses began to slip quietly back into the American scene, first out of necessity, then as a mark of individuality. While the mainstream clung to their cat eyes and rectangular frames, adventurous spirits, often college students or creative types, embraced the circular silhouette as a kind of visual shorthand for nonconformity. In libraries and coffeehouses from Berkeley to Boston, you could spot these early adopters hunched over dog-eared paperbacks, the thin silver outlines of their frames standing in gentle contrast to the heavier eyewear favored by their parents. Here's a curiosity. In the early 60s, most optical shops thought of round glasses as old-fashioned, even comically outdated. They often relegated them to the corners of display cases, never expecting them to sell in serious numbers. Did you ever notice those ignored trays of wireframes gathering dust, a little too plain for the glossy advertisements of the day? Yet for a whole subculture, that out-of-step reputation was part of the attraction. To wear round glasses was to shrug off the image-driven world of Madison Avenue, to signal quietly that you saw things differently. Sometimes it's the overlooked object that best captures the spirit of renewal. But the timing of their return was about more than just practicality or product cycles. The late 50s and early 60s were a moment when America, indeed much of the world, was squinting at itself, searching for new perspectives. The civil rights movement, the rise of youth-driven music, the first stirrings of protest against old institutions. All of this energy found its reflection, strangely enough, in fashion, especially in what people chose to wear on their faces. Round glasses became, almost inadvertently, part of the emerging vocabulary of change. Did you know that long before John Lennon ever put on his famously tinted pair, round glasses were being used by professors and philosophers as a symbol of seriousness and study? The pince-nez and Windsor styles, imported mainly from Europe, had been beloved by early 20th century intellectuals, and when these frames re-emerged on American campuses in the 60s, they carried a faint aura of scholarly rebellion. Even then, the choice of eyewear hinted at something more profound than just fashion. Are there any professors or bookish figures from your college days whose glasses you can still picture, their silver circles gleaming as they made a passionate argument? What truly cemented the appeal of round glasses, though, was the gradual shift in what Americans considered stylish. As counterculture movements gained strength and the tidy borders of the 1950s broke apart, young people gravitated toward looks that rejected established norms. Unlike the flashy sculpted frames of the prior decade, round glasses felt humble and authentic, bohemian, even a bit subversive. When paired with corduroy jackets, turtlenecks, or hand-embroidered vests, those simple frames became a statement not only of who you were, but of what you questioned. There's a surprising twist hidden in all this too. Far from being manufactured by big-name eyewear companies, many iconic 60s round glasses were made by small-time craftsmen or imported in batches from England and Germany. It wasn't unusual to stumble upon a tiny, independent shop selling frames with barely their labels, each pair slightly unique. Sometimes the glasses you wore had a tangible story behind them, a journey across borders, decades, or even family generations. Have you ever discovered an old pair tucked away in a family drawer, dusty but still intact, carrying the echoes of another era? By the mid-60s, the round frame had fully shed its reputation as a relic. It stood shoulder to shoulder with the era's most adventurous fashion experiments, boldly coloured miniskirts, paisley shirts, and that unmistakable mop-top hair. People started to realize that something as small as the shape of your glasses could signal allegiance to a whole philosophy of life, a hunger for change and a distrust of the ordinary. But what really set the round glasses apart was how they managed to bridge generations. On one hand, they carried the wisdom and gravity of historical figures like Mahatma Gandhi. On the other, they became entwined with the optimism of youth, as musicians and artists claimed them as part of their signature style. It's easy to see how standing in front of your bedroom mirror, trying on a simple pair of round frames, could make you feel suddenly transported, less a follower of trends, more a participant in something bigger. What did round glasses mean to you looking back? Were they a practical necessity, a borrowed badge, or an act of quiet rebellion? The truth is, for every wearer, they gathered personal meaning, moments of clarity, of new vision, of seeing the world not only as it was, but as it could be. And as we'll discover next, these unassuming circles of glass didn't just expand our own horizons, they set the stage for one of the most striking fashion evolutions of the decade, captivating the imaginations of rock stars, poets, and everyday dreamers alike. So, what was it that made those round lenses leap from college campuses and quiet coffee shops straight into the heart of 60s pop culture? That's where our story turns next. As we find ourselves at the end of this journey through the world of 1960s round glasses, it's clear these aren't just pieces of glass and wire, they're touchstones of a time when seeing didn't just mean clearer vision, but a new outlook on life itself. We've travelled from the quiet corners of Army-Navy stores where surplus frames waited patiently for new owners, to the bustling college campuses and smoky coffeehouses where those simple circles became part of a shared language among rebels, thinkers, and artists. We remembered how round glasses began as a whisper from earlier generations, practical, almost overlooked accessories that gradually found their place at the very front of a cultural revolution. With every glance in a shop window or sideways look across a crowded lecture hall, those frames turned into unspoken statements of curiosity, of dissent, of standing just outside the lines drawn by the decades before. More than a mere trend, the rise of round glasses in the 60s captured a spirit that shaped the world in countless ways. When we think of iconic faces from those years, John Lennon, Janis Joplin, or a favourite professor, their round frames are an inseparable part of their legacy. These glasses came to represent not only a break from the past, but also a gentle link to tradition, a nod to the scholars and thinkers of earlier times, even as the wearers looked firmly toward the future. They framed the eyes of dreamers at peace rallies, artists sketching new ideas, and everyday people searching for meaning beyond the mainstream. Slipping on a pair was sometimes about necessity, sometimes about defiance, and often about finding kindred spirit, people who saw the world a little differently and weren't afraid to show it. The deeper meaning of those iconic frames lies in how seamlessly they blended the personal with the political, the everyday with the extraordinary. For many, putting on round glasses was not just about vision correction, but an invitation to see the world as it was, yes, but also as it could become. They reminded us that style could come from embracing what made us different, not what fit in a magazine spread. Even today, picking up an old pair can bring back that feeling of anticipation, the sense that through those lenses you might catch sight of a new idea or a long-lost friend across a bustling quad. So what do round glasses mean to you? Are they a memory of your first college debate, an echo of a favourite song on the radio, or a playful experiment one carefree afternoon? Looking back, how did wearing, or even just seeing, those memorable frames influence the way you viewed yourself or the world around you? Maybe you still keep an old pair tucked away in a drawer, or spot that familiar shape on faces in old family albums, each one a thread, connecting your own history to a much larger story. We'd love for you to share your personal memories of round glasses in the comments. Was there a moment when slipping on a pair felt like the start of something new? Or maybe a time when seeing someone else in those frames inspired you in ways you never expected? And if you enjoyed this journey through the timeless style and meaning of 1960s round glasses, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more nostalgic explorations. Share this with a fellow friend or family member who might appreciate reminiscing about an era where even a simple accessory could change the way we saw ourselves and each other. Be sure to stay tuned for stories that will keep those cherished memories alive. Because sometimes all it takes is looking through the right pair of lenses to remember just how colourful our world once was and still can be.